Hi, welcome back. We're going to do, this is the, let's see, I think the 7th video in a series for a digital photography and design class. Today we're going to talk about making a special selection using the pen tool. And we've left this for its own tutorial because it's a little bit confusing. And as I move my cursor over here to the side, I've got my cursor on the pen tool here. The pen tool looks like an old-fashioned sort of fountain pen. When you click on it, you can see that you have different options in here as far as plussing and adding or minusing or something. What that does is add or deletes anchor points to a path, and then the basic pen tool is the one that just looks like this. The reason that this tool is a little bit confusing is that you have to use a specific window in order to be able to work with it. So I'm going to go to my window pull-down menu and pull up a window called Paths. And when I pull that up, I've got that here, and I can leave it on the side or have it somewhere. But in order to do this type of selection, you're going to need to have that Paths menu open. You could drag that and put it into other windows if you'd like. If I want to put it in here, now I have it linked with my layers and my paths. But for this particular case, I think I'll pull it out so that you can get an idea that it's separated from this layers menu. Okay, so here's my paths menu open and my layers menu open. Okay, I'm going to double click on this and rename my layer so that it is now a layer 0. What I want to do is to create a path and then make a selection from the path. Now this is a little bit different than making a selection, say using the marquee tool like this, where you get a running ant selection right away, or the quick selection tool where you click and drag and fill a space and you get a selection around something. Those types of things have their own uses. If you have a background that is much different than your foreground area, the quick selection tool can work. If you have a very simple selection where you need a square or circle, this type of selection will work. But let's say you have something that really needs to have a selection that goes around something very precisely, and you can't get any of those tools to work. The path tool is the one that you want to try to, or pen tool, I'm sorry, is the one that you want to try and work with. Now this is going to be different because we're going to be making a path and then a selection from the path. The path itself is going to be done in using anchor points. That would be similar if you're familiar with pixels versus vector programs. It's going to be more like drawing a vector path and then using a pixel selection of the vector path. So what I'm going to do here is try to just make a selection around one of these fingers or a portion of the fingers and using the path tool or pen tool. And I'm going to zoom in so that I can really see what I'm doing and get this set up in a place where I can use it. Okay, so here we go. I've got my pen tool selected here, my paths menu open, and I'm going to just simply make a click. And when I do that, it immediately creates a work path over here. So I'm starting to make a path. And I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm simply just working my way around the area precisely where I would like my selection to eventually be. Right now I'm making a path. I'm not making a selection. You see that it doesn't have the running ants sort of highlighted thing happening, and I'm just going to cut off this part of the finger right here. Now you can zoom in really closely on this, as closely as you'd like, in order to make your selection as precise as possible, or your path as precise as possible. And that will help once you make the actual selection in order to be able to get a better angle of it. Okay. So as I work my way around, I've gone all the way around the finger here now, and I connect this up. As I connect this up, see there's a little connector thing at the top of the pen, and bam. Okay. Now I've got a work path created. It's deselected. Now it's selected. This path is completely independent of anything on this file. I can throw it away. I can name it whatever I'd like to name it by double clicking on it. But it's a path, and it exists now around an area of the picture that I think I want a selection to be. Okay. I double-clicked on it, so it named it Path 1 over here. I could double-click on it and rename it something else if I'd like, but I'll just leave it Path 1 for now. Okay, so that's step 1, is to make your path. Step 2 is to select your path by going over and highlighting it, just like you would a layer. And then you have to go into the little top right corner, and you say Make Selection. In here you can do things like feather the radius of it and things like that, but I'm just going to say OK. And now we see that we have an actual selection of this file, or of this part of the finger that I can use to move around now. I can copy it, I can move it, I can move the pixels of the photograph because I used the path to make the selection. Okay, so I could do an edit copy and an edit paste. It will paste it into its own layer, and now I've been able to take that out and make it what I want it to be. Okay, so I've cut that part of it out. I could move it into another file if I'd like. I want to show you one thing that tends to happen with doing this as a convention or as a way of making selection is if I zoom in here quickly, I can see that like right up here there's a part of the file that didn't get selected correctly, and over here it sort of looks like it's a little bit jaggedy as it works its way around. That can happen when you use the path tool in order to cut things out, especially if you don't take your time. You could clean this up a little bit by going to the eraser tool and erasing little bits of the pixels that you didn't get on that layer and things like that. But sometimes, especially if you try and go too quickly, or if you aren't close enough, zoomed in close enough, you end up with a selection that or an object that's cut out that you can really tell that it's cut out and it has like jagged edges around it. So just be careful of that as you use the pen tool or path tool. It works a lot better if you zoom in real closely and just take your time. Now I'd recommend this as something that you would do for something that you knew you really wanted to cut out and couldn't use any of the other selection tools for, and that you were going to take some time and really do it right. It doesn't work well around things like hair or around things where you have to don't have clean edges, but it works well around things that maybe have like if you've got a dark edge next to a dark edge and you can't get a selection around it, you can zoom in and maybe get part of the image cut out. Okay, so that's the path tool. I'm going to go through it one more quick time, and I'll do it a little bit more quickly now just so that you see the idea of how this works. I'm going to zoom in on my picture, select the pen tool, work my way around where I want my selection to go. Right now I'm going to make this even smaller than the last one, and do it in a way that makes sense. So that I'm right where I want to be. Close my path. I know that it's closed. Oh, one thing I forgot to show before was moving the tool. Let's say that I would like to move these things, and I need to be able to say click on one of these anchor points and manipulate it, or click on this anchor point and change it in some way. I can do it here. I can go to this tool here and transform pen tool will let me click and move that anchor point to where I want it to be. The addition will add an anchor point in that I can use, and the subtraction will take one away. So it'll delete this anchor point if I want to get rid of it. Okay. Now that I have my path drawn, I select my path. Oh, I have this linked to the other path. I didn't realize I had done that, but we'll do it anyway. I'm going to, actually, I'll just delete it. So we've got path 1 actually is highlighting 2 paths. As I look on here, I can see it's 2. But let's see what it selects. If I go to Make Selection and say OK, it selected both this area and this area because my path 1 includes two paths. So if I just deselect this, and then I can go to my paths menu or select this path and try to select this, hit the delete key and delete all of that, and now I've deleted all of my path. Control Z, because I made one too many deletes. Now I just have this single path. I go to make selection, say OK, and now I have an actual selection that I can copy from this photograph. Okay, so that's the pen/path tool. Good luck with that, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.